Burn Bootcamp podcast, everybody. So apparently we have earned the title, the elusive, majestic title of being a power couple. What is that? I'm not sure I know what that means yet.
You don't?
I mean, kind of. I know that it's like a husband and a wife or a partnership, and they're aligned toward like a singular mission, and they kind of figured it out, and they've hit their stride.
Yeah,
something like that, right?
I don't know the exact definition, but power couple, yes. I think it's two people that are obviously working together to take over the world.
All right, so we got asked what would be like your top 5 power couple tips.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right, so we aligned on our 5 things. I
Yes.
think we're aligned on our 5 things, aren't we? Okay. Because we talk about it quite often.
Yeah, I think there's
And
a
so-
lot more than 5, but
Yeah.
these are the main 5 that I think you and I have learned over time through trial and error. Let's be honest, right? We didn't know this 10 years ago when we became a power couple
Right.
at Burn Bootcamp. So this is what we've learned over time, and this is what's really helped us make sure that we're able to stay sane and in
Yeah.
love with each other while we also run a business.
And disclaimer, not all 5 of these are even 100% perfect
Yes.
all the time
But it's
for
what
us.
we're shooting for.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Like you never make 100% of the shots that you take, Right. So just it's the idea. It's the idea, and we're constantly working on it. But if you guys have principles down as a couple, right? This to me, a power couple makes it seem like something that people can't attain, or like some elitist group of like individual like couples. It's not about that. It's about becoming the best version of a partnership that you can be together, taking some principles, writing them down, agreeing upon them, evolving them over time. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, why don't we start with number 1, which we believe power couples are great communicators.
I think this one's actually the most important one.
Yeah.
So I think it's number 1 for a reason. Your communication with each other is super crucial, and I think that goes with anything in life, but especially when you're working together and then you're going home and you're being mom and dad together and husband and wife together. So there's a lot of different roles that you're going to play, and you need to make sure that you're communicating properly in each of those settings.
Right.
Because those are not always the same way to communicate either.
Yep, and I needed to know what does properly mean. So we created a tool. It's called the feedback loop. 5 things. You want to go through those real quick?
Sure.
We'll go through them real quick. 5 things. 5, questions and or statements, but 5 distinct steps in this. Number 1, okay, whatever the situation is, how do you think that went? It's a very, very important question, because 9 times out of 10, that person that you ask that to, in this case being your spouse, they're going to say probably
Good.
exactly, no.
That's
They're
what I
going to
would
say
No.
they're going to say exactly what you're going to critique them for anyways. So you don't have to be the bad guy. So it's how was that is number 1. And then you have to say, would you like my feedback? Okay? Would you like my feedback? Let them tell you that what you have to say is worth their time. All right? And that the third thing is from my perspective. So if they say yes, which most often happens, from my perspective is like, okay, I'm not right, I'm not wrong here, but here's what you told me I could give you from my perspective, and you kind of set it out there in the universe. Now then you say, is that fair, for the 4th thing? And they get to take that, if they want to, that perspective you laid out in the atmosphere, they get to own it, put it in their pocket. Or not, but at least it's out there and they know your feelings. And the last thing is, what are we going to do next time, or how are we going to handle that next time? What that's asking is for clarity from the other person. Hey, this thing that, you said that you could get better on, I agreed with. You asked for my perspective, I agreed with it. Good. So how are we going to get better, and how are we going to move forward? That is
I think the key to that feedback loop,
it's a very quick version of that,
that
by
was a
the way.
quick version,
Yeah.
but the key to that one is, would you like my feedback? And asking your spouse or your partner, do you want that feedback? Because like I just said, if you go about your day and you are in work mode, and then maybe you're in mom mode, or maybe you're in a different mode, and someone comes in and wants to give you feedback and it's not the right time, say no, not right now. And I do that a lot. I think you and I do that often, because it's like, yes, I want the feedback, but not right in this moment, because I'm not going to receive it the best. And I think we've learned to mutually respect that about one another. Is like, hey, when do you want to talk about this then? Because I want to make sure that I'm able to get out the feedback that I want to give you when you're ready to receive it. And I think a lot of the times couples or, partners, they'll just nit at each other,
Yes.
nitpick at each other,
Yes.
right? Whenever they feel like saying what they want to say.
Right.
and it's not being received well, and that's what causes tension. Like we still do it, right? Like I think this morning I was probably nitpicking at him because he didn't want my feedback, and he let me know, hey, I don't want your feedback right now. So
and she didn't ask me.
She didn't ask
me. So I was like, I had to tell her.
It just came out of my mouth, right? And so we know what we need to do, but sometimes, it just still comes out. So be conscious of that. If you are constantly giving feedback to your partner and your spouse that's in maybe a negative fashion too, that's probably why there's tension between the two of you, because they're not ready to receive it, and therefore they're going to resist everything you say and likely defend it.
Yeah.
Instead of be like, oh yeah, you're right, and thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
So
both sides have to be great communicators.
Yes.
And there's strategy behind it. We'll go deeper into feedback loop at some other time in the podcast. Okay, let's go to number 2. Don't disagree with each other in front of other people. Okay, listen, I'm pretty good at some of these. This is the one I'm the worst at because I'm very opinionated. And
at least you know it, right?
Yes, I do.
Self-aware.
And I think over time I've less frequently disagreed with you in front of other people when there's any type of cohesion that would be on the line. So it's about maintaining cohesiveness in front of other people, right? It's not that you put on a front. It's not that you put on a fake. It's that people need leaders through tough times, and you can't be the turbulent ones, especially if you're owning a business, if that's part of your power couple definition. So we're in a business together, and we sit in the boardroom together, and when I'm in the boardroom, I say what's on my mind, and I disagree with people, and, hey, that's part of the responsibility of the business and our fiduciary responsibility to our franchise partners and all of their teams. So ain't no room for hiding things or keeping wearing that emotional baggage in business, right? Because you have to let it out. So I can't let it out if I disagree with her fundamentally in front of other people. That's a behind the scenes, going back to number 1, feedback loop type deal, to where we would say, all right, hey, remember that board meeting we had earlier? How was that? Would you like my feedback from my perspective? And you go through the whole 5 steps there. So maintaining cohesiveness. And let me ask you this. I think this is a good question. How does it make you feel when sometimes I will disagree with you, when you probably already know based on our energy that wasn't in alignment with what I think, but I actually say it out loud and put you on the fence? How does that make you feel sometimes?
It doesn't make me feel good. It makes me question my own ability to make decisions and my own judgment. And then I'm just always, feeling like, okay, well, maybe I am wrong. So it's hard because I think you and I, we're very opposite. So I think initially you and I always think pretty differently. But we can always come together and make the decision together. The outcome can always be the same. But our initial reactions to a lot of things are like yin and yang, because that's just who we are and how we think. So I think that's why it's so much more important for us to have those conversations and get on the same page together, so then we can get to that outcome and it's aligned. So however you work with your partner, make sure that you really understand. If you naturally disagree with each other or just have different perspectives, try to get on that same page behind the scenes. So to everybody in your office, your leadership team, the people that you're serving and leading can see you guys as a cohesive unit.
And don't be like me and make bad body language moves either. It's not just about your voice. It's you just, that is not good, okay? You're the boss. Everyone's watching you, all right? And you learn these things over time. So number 3 is have no expectations of one another. Now, this is a tricky one, and I language it this way because this is the hardest one to do, but no expectations of one another is basically saying it's not only of one another, it's of anyone else. And the principle says that you shouldn't have expectations of people who have high expectations of themselves. You should surround yourself with people who already have high expectations of themselves. That way, your expectation of them isn't carrying your happiness.
I think that's a key distinction here.
It's carrying your happiness.
You should have expectations for yourself and for your employees, and they have to be accountable for things.
Of course, accountability.
But when you don't ever tie it to your happiness, which I think is key here as we're talking in this setting of a power couple, is don't have expectations of one another that are going to hinder your happiness at the end of the day or bring you guys further apart instead of closer apart. So you have to filter that in, but that doesn't mean I can't have an expectation of Devan to do something he said he was going to do, or expect greatness out of himself, like you said.
So this morning, I am late. Okay, I get up. We're supposed to be doing a solo episode. I get up. We're a little late. Okay. Well, Morgan says, "You're going to be late for your podcast episode. Don't make me late for mine." And I said, "Okay, you're totally correct.
No, you didn't
You're
say
totally
that.
correct.
Let's
You're
be honest.
absolutely right. You're absolutely
That
right.
wasn't
Yes,
what you
ma'am.
said. Now you're saying it.
I agree with everything you just said." But a little bit of her happiness this morning was attached and associated to whether I got here on time for my podcast or not. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why I say it's one of the hardest things. And we do it back and forth all the time, but we're aware of it. And when we're aware of it, we're like, hey, listen, do you, I trust you, you're you, I'm me. The way that we're going to see things initially, like she said, is not the same. So don't expect it to be the same, or else you're going to be constantly like putting the ball in someone else's court to decide your own happiness. And I don't like giving that much power away, not only to my wife or my partner or my spouse, but to anyone. You shouldn't give that much power away, because we're much more individual than we are, couple or group. Like, we're individuals first that come together to create the power couple.
Yes. All right, number 4.
Number 4, go ahead.
Date each other.
Yes. We've gotten much better at this.
We're getting better at this one. But again, if you're spending your days with your spouse and then you're going home and your mom and dad right away, you really have to be intentional about carving the time out to be husband and wife.
You do.
Or else you'll end up being just partners or like roommates, or you're coexisting with each other in the other roles. Make sure you make your relationship the priority, and that you're spending that time outside of work. I mean, let's be honest, when Devan and I go on a date, we talk about work.
Of course we do.
We're not pressured to talk about work. It's because we love work, and we actually get a lot of creative ideas when we're like not in mom and dad mode and we're not at work in our office setting. Like, we get a lot of our ideas and stuff like that out. So I think some of the best ideas for you and I have come like on an airplane, at breakfast, at El Toro Mexican Grill.
Yep. El Toro, shout out El Toro.
Yeah, like our date nights, or
hombres.
like at the time we get to travel with each other and just have some of that one-on-one time outside of our normal setting. That's where some of our great ideas, and that's where we get to kind of dream and make wishes and stuff for ourselves and for our family. So make sure you make the time.
Wouldn't it be cool if, I say that a lot on those dates.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I like dreaming with you. Okay, number 5. This is my favorite one, and I saved the best for last on purpose, because there's a stigma to mom and dad and professionalism in this country, and the allocation of time, effort, and energy to business, to home, between mom and dad. And there's this whole mom needs to stay home with the kids and dad needs to go to work, and that's still there. It's so traditional, and I can't fathom how we can still think like this, but this is why this is my favorite one, because we do everything 50-50. And I believe that it's pretty crazy that some people that I communicate with that maybe have the same type of profession that we do, like, think that it is taboo to like change your baby's diapers. I'm like, I'll be changing diapers. I get in there. I've got poop on my hands many times.
Okay, TMI.
A lot of times. I've got the trifecta before. I've got poop, crying, pooping, and puking on me all at one time.
I feel like you'll never let me live that.
No, she was at a Taylor Swift concert losing her credit cards.
Okay.
And I was at home getting the trifecta from, I think it was Maxwell.
It was Maxwell,
just peeing on my chest. And I'm like, I wouldn't trade that for anything, you know? And so it's like, I want to go home and I want to spend that family time together. And I want to, whether it's dinner or breakfast, I want to have a meal together every day. I want to have a daily relationship with my children as a dad and as a business owner. And, you know, and people sometimes just passing, not even in passing commentary without even realizing that, at least to us, it's not offensive, but it's just somewhat bizarre that people will say like things to you, especially. What do they say? Like some of the things people would say to you are baffling that they would think this way.
Well, and it's
like,
usually men.
Yeah.
Will say something like, "Well, I know you've got the 3 kids at home, so I know this,
Devan's dream, and you're just along
I'm
for the
here
ride.
for it." And it's like,
Just
well, okay. So, I do think it is a stigma, and I think that, yes, there are still responsibilities that I have that maybe, like obviously like breastfeeding in the beginning and like things like that aren't 50-50.
You can't do that
But
50-50.
we are getting out of those
That's
phases.
not possible.
And so, Devan and I, it is important for us that, sometimes he gets home by 5:30 to get the kids, or he goes and picks up Cameron from dance. And, it's divide and conquer for us. And he knows that I am full-time working, and, it shouldn't be that I'm always obligated to make the work sacrifices for the home, and then vice versa. And so I think we respect that out of each other, and I think you've seen me in that light a lot more as we've gotten 3 kids.
Right.
That's changed and evolved a lot, because you know that I can't do all of that and do all of my COO stuff really, really well. So, I think that you've always been very active, but 50-50 as much as you can. We're 50-50 in all of our businesses and all the decisions that we make, and so why would parenting be any different?
Yeah, I agree. And, it's crazy. I think, so one last point to that I want to make clear. 50-50 is not 50-50 in responsibility. It's 50-50 in willingness. It's the willingness. It's the, do I actually change as many diapers as Morgan on a diaper for diaper scale, pound for pound diaper change? No. No, but it's like,
but you're willing
if we're
to.
in the same room at the same time together and the diaper needs to be changed, like, doing it, Yeah. And then on the other, just everything, like all the things when it comes to children, like changing their pajamas, putting that into the pajamas, getting them in bed, giving them baths, like it's just the willingness.
We don't have the gender roles really, like it's not like, well, you're mom, so you do that, and I'm dad, and I do this. It's like we're all willing to do both things. I'm willing to go play baseball with them out front. Obviously, so are you. You know, it's not just, we share all the responsibilities.
You cooking real quick? Hey, let me take over. Like, go help Cam with their homework or whatever. So it's all good. 50-50.
It works for us because we have a lot on our plates. We both know we don't compete with like how busy one another are. I think we definitely have gone through those phases, or at least I have, like, where I would try to just show you all the time, like, all the things I was doing and how overwhelmed I felt like I was. And I don't have to do that. Like, it's just, you don't have to compete with your spouse about who does what and who has more to do, because you each have your own things, and it impacts us differently.
Well, you have the hardest job, let's be honest. You're the integrator of the business. That means you deal with all the hard problems. You have this societal stigma to be mom. You have all these external pressures to do all these things well. I'm over here in La La Land half the time, just dreaming about stuff that we might and half the ideas get scrapped anyway. So I have this zero pressure environment a lot of times, and I just want everyone to know that Morgan is not along for the ride. Morgan's driving the car, right? So let's just be clear and call a spade a spade.
You're putting the destination in the map, and I'm driving.
Yeah, and then I'm looking down and texting the whole time while you're driving. That's just not even paying attention to the scenery.
Yeah, like, has anyone ever asked you, do you have dad guilt today? Being on this business trip, where are your kids? What do your kids do when you travel? I get that question everywhere we go. Like, so where are your kids? And like, who stays with the kids? I guarantee you've never been asked that question. And it's okay. Like, I get it. People are curious because it's not the norm, right? It's not the norm for moms to also be out and, traveling and being away from their kids. So
that's what makes us a power couple.
Yeah.
That's what they call us. I guess we'll take it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening.
All right. Yep.
2 claps on 2. 1, 2.